The Stoic that all the Stoics admired was Cato. In his last moments on earth, Seneca is thinking of Cato. Thrasea is modeling his life on Cato. George Washington, for his part, makes Cato his hero. It's the basis of his whole life. So of the Stoics, Cato has always been the hero. But what's fascinating about Cato is that Cato didn't write anything down. He's not a hero because of his philosophical writings. He's a hero because of the towering example. His philosophical contribution was his life, who he was as a human being. I'm Ryan Holiday. I've written now 10 books about Stoic philosophy. I've talked about Stoicism all over the world, from the NBA to the NFL, sitting senators and special forces leaders. And in today's episode, I want to talk to you about one of my favorite Stoics, the great Cato the Younger. There's two Catos in ancient Rome. There's Cato the Elder, who's Cato's great-great-grandfather, and then Cato the Younger comes later, and he's the one who's explicitly the Stoic, and that's who we're going to talk about in today's episode. And I'm going to give you some tips and strategies and lessons from Cato's life that you can apply in your own. One of the best pieces of advice I ever got came when I got my first job in Hollywood. I sat in this meeting with a bunch of important older people, and I remember I spoke up about something. I didn't really know what I was talking about, but I just said something. And then afterwards, one of my mentors took me aside and he said, "Why did you say that? Did you feel like it really needed to be said, or did you just want to have something to say?" I was speaking out of ego, really, of speaking out of insecurity. I didn't actually have anything I want to say. So when I heard Cato's advice that he only speaks when he's confident that what he has to say is not better left unsaid, that's the advice that I was getting. And it's this timeless, amazing piece of advice. The idea that you don't just have to talk for the sake of talking. You can keep your mouth shut. You can listen. 2 ears, 1 mouth, as the Stoics say. That's the way to think about it. Somebody once asked Cato, the Stoic philosopher, why there was no statue of him in Rome. And he said, "I'd rather you ask that question, why there is no statue, than ask why there is a statue of me." Point is, it's better to be obscure, it's better to be underrated than overrated. And I think about that with my books. I'd like to be, I heard this great expression from a friend. It said, you want to be your favorite rapper's favorite rapper. You don't need to be the most popular. You don't need to be the most famous, the most well-known. You want to be the person that the people in the industry are fans of because you're legit, because you actually do it. So in my book, Perennial Seller, I talk about this. Don't chase fame, chase the real tastemakers, the real people who are doing the real shit. That's who you want to impress, if anyone. That's where you want your work to resonate. You don't want to be the person who's got an inflated reputation. You want to be a person who's underappreciated but actually great. That's who's going to stand the test of time. And Cato is a great example of that. Cato walked around Rome bareheaded. He walked barefoot. He wore a thin toga. Even though he was quite wealthy, he dressed as if he was not. And he was okay standing alone, looking different, being judged, being misunderstood. And this wasn't just for fun. This wasn't just kind of tourism in a different way of life. What Cato is actually doing, I think, is preparing for the moment when it really counts. When he has to stand alone against Caesar, when he has to stand alone against corruption, when he has to stand alone against the decadence of his time. He's practiced this. He's prepared for it. It's how he's lived his whole life. He doesn't care that he's getting sideways glances. He doesn't care that people are criticizing him. He doesn't care that people are doubting him. He doesn't care that people are saying what he's doing is pointless and silly and it doesn't mean anything and that he should just go along with everyone else. No, he's practiced this. He's prepared for it. He's made it a daily habit, which is what we have to do to prepare for a moment like that in our own lives. All the great moments in Stoic history involve standing up for the little guy. Cato stands up for the little guy. Rutilius Rufus stands up for the little guy. Marcus Aurelius passes laws that not only protects Rome's slaves, he even gives wooden swords to the gladiators so they won't get hurt in the arena, right? We're all privileged. We all have advantages. And at different times, we're going to see ourselves in positions of power or influence where we can do something for someone. And a huge part of Stoicism is using that power, using that privilege to lessen the burden, to make life easier and better for other people, right? A Stoic virtue of justice, right? Justice is a core Stoic virtue, just that you do the right thing, the rest doesn't matter. The fruit of this life, Marcus Aurelius says, is good character and acts for the common good, which especially and particularly means speaking up and standing up for people who can't stand up and speak up for themselves. Hillel's famous question was, if not me, then who? And then he said, if not now, then when? And I think this is a really important Stoic question. And this is why you see the Stoics stepping up in moments of crisis and difficulty throughout the history of Stoicism, because they knew that if they didn't do it, if Cato had simply rolled over, then no one would have stood up. If Marcus Aurelius had declined being the emperor because what he really wanted to do was be a philosopher, then who would have taken his place? I think even Seneca realizes this in Nero's service. He says, if I don't do this, someone else worse will do it. And I think this is just such a key question. If you're not going to do it, who's going to do it? And if everyone backed out, if no one stepped up, where would that leave us? If not you, then who? And if not now, then when? I hope you like this video. I hope you subscribe. But what I really want you to subscribe to is our daily Stoic email. 1 bit of Stoic wisdom, totally for free, to the largest community of Stoics ever in existence. You can sign up at dailystoic.com/email. There's no spam. You can unsubscribe at any time. I love sending it. I've sent it every day for the last 6 years, and I hope to see you there at dailystoic.com/email.